You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham, and we've got a fine podcast on tap for you today. But then again, I always say that. Today we're talking, though, about the Golden State Warriors and how they came back from down 3-1 against OKC and still won the Western Conference Finals. And they find themselves back in the NBA Finals again against the Cleveland Cavaliers. LeBron now has his teammates Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love ready to go. Should be an interesting finals. But before we get into that, I gotta say, Golden State did not win that series. OKC lost it. They absolutely pummeled the Warriors, pummeled them in games 3 and 4 to go up 3-1. They played really well in game 5. We kind of all expected that, that Golden State would put up a fight and probably win that one at home. But going back to Oklahoma City in game 6, how do you lose that game? How do you lose that game? How does Russell Westbrook have 4 turnovers in the last minute 39 of the game? 4 turnovers in the last minute 39. He had 1 turnover the entire game before that. So in 46 minutes and 21 seconds, Russell Westbrook had 1 turnover. In the last minute 39, he had 4. 4 turnovers. Disgusting. It was the most disgusting fourth quarter of basketball I think I've ever watched. They had 0 assists as a team. 0 assists as a team in the entire fourth quarter. OKC did. 0. Kevin Durant shot 10 of 31 in Game 6. He shot 12 of 31 in Game 5. He shot 8 of 24 in Game 4. I mean, he was just dreadful. Game 7, he played well. Nothing like spectacular, but he played well. Played like the Kevin Durant we know. But in those games, so here's an interesting stat. Kevin Durant, in his entire career before these playoffs, had 1 game out of 741 where he took at least 30 field goal attempts and shot under 40%. So again, 30-plus field goal attempts, shooting under 40%. He had done it 1 time out of 741 games. This postseason, he did that 4 times. 4. 2 of which were in this series against the Warriors. What is going on? What is that? It was the most disappointing fourth quarter and most disappointing ending. Because once they lost that Game 6, they had very little chance of going back to Golden State and winning Game 7 on the road after just getting really embarrassed. Like, your heart's just ripped out of your chest. You've just lost Games 5 and 6. 6, you had 6. You're up 8 with a couple minutes to go, and you give that one away. They just absolutely imploded. They're bigger, faster, and stronger than Golden State. Honestly, they're the better team on paper, right? But when you don't have that clutch gene, when you don't have a finisher, the Warriors have 2 finishers. They've got Curry and they've got Klay Thompson. OKC has 0. Durant and Westbrook are both more talented than Curry and Thompson, but they're not finishers. They're not clutch. They choked. CHOKElahoma. The Oklahoma Sooners, I call them CHOKElahoma because they always choke in college football. Every time it's a big game, they make the BCS, they make the college football playoff. It's CHOKElahoma. Well, now it's CHOKElahoma City to me. They absolutely choked this series away, and now we got to watch Steph Curry pound his chest every time he makes a free throw, point to the sky, like we all care, buddy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on Steph. The dude's amazing. He's an amazing shooter. But the antics after every made bucket, that's got to stop. I can't think of any all-time great that did that kind of crap where you're pounding your chest and pointing to the sky. He does it after free throws. He does it after made free throws. Really? Come on, dude. And Draymond Green, don't get me started on Draymond Green. I think he learned in that game 6, to not kick Steven Adams in the nuts ever again when he got dunked on hard. It's a shame. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not a big fan of either team. I think they're both really talented. They're both really fun to watch. I'm actually really excited for these finals, the Warriors and the Cavs. And the Warriors are one of the most exciting teams in recent memory to play the game. But let's just be real. Let's just call it what it is. They choked it away. And everyone's going off like, I saw J.A. Adonde. He's an ESPN guy. He tweeted, I'm not gonna gang up too hard on Westbrook and Durant just yet. It took an all-time great shooting performance to beat them. No, it didn't. Even with that shooting performance, the game was well in hand. Just don't turn the ball over every possession, and you win. But they turned the ball over every possession. They couldn't even inbound the ball. There was nothing they could do right down the stretch. It was selfish hero ball. It was disgusting. It was absolutely ridiculous. The shooting percentages were awful by their stars. The decision-making was awful by Durant and Westbrook. Durant had 2 turnovers in the final couple minutes, and I already mentioned Westbrook had 4. 6 turnovers by your all-stars, by your superstars. 6 turnovers. That should be 6 buckets. It should be 12 to 18 points. That's what it should be. But they had 6 turnovers. It was awful. It was pathetic. It's gonna haunt those guys for their entire career. Until Durant, especially Durant, until he wins a championship, that game 6 will haunt him. Absolutely haunt him. Turnovers, 10 of 31 shooting, blowing an 8-point lead late. You're ahead from start to finish. They led the entire game at home with the defending champs, 73-9 Warriors, back against the wall. You got them on the ropes, and they couldn't finish them. So I'm not going to give too much credit to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I'm really not. Klay Thompson balled out, but it should have been too little too late. It should have been too little too late, and the Warriors should have gone home after 6 games. But instead, the Thunder gave them new life, let them back into it, and of course, in 7 games, it was finished off. So that was disappointing. As a basketball fan and someone who I like KD. And to see him choke the way he did and to blow that lead the way they did and just not be able to finish, it was sad. It was sad. It's going to haunt him. It's going to haunt him his entire career until he gets over the hump. You have to be able to close. And because this is where I will give the Warriors mad credit. They close games. They are scared of no one. They are scared of no moment. No moment is too big. No game is too big. No shot is too important. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry thrive in those moments. They thrive in those moments. And that's why I think the Cavs have their hands full. Because the Cavs are probably more popular. The Cavs are probably more talented on paper as well. But man, when you can't close, you don't have a chance against these guys because they can close and they close hard. 3 after 3 after 3. It is the great equalizer. That 3-point shot in the series. So first of all, Golden State trailed in the series more than they led, but yet they won 4 games to 3. They got out-rebounded by a long shot. They had more turnovers. They had fewer assists, fewer rebounds, lower field goal percentage from 2-point range, but they were like plus 80-something from 3 in the series. The 3-point shot, it is completely revolutionizing the game of basketball when you have guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson who can shoot it like they do. And it kind of rubs off on people around them, right? Like in a bad way on the opponents, where Russell Westbrook all of a sudden thinks, well, I can do that. If Steph Curry can do that, I can do that. No, you can't, Russ. No, you can't, bro. You can't do it. You tried, and it's air balls, or it's hard off the backboard, or it's Brick City, or it's you flailing your legs and arms trying to draw a foul on a 3-pointer. You can't shoot like those guys. But guess what? They can't drive like you. They can't jump like you. Play your game, and you win. If he would have played his game, in Game 6 especially, down the stretch, he and Durant, the series is over. And I would put OKC maybe as the favorite to win it all. And it felt like, when they overcame the Spurs, I said this on a previous podcast, and I've tweeted it before. It felt like when they were beating the Spurs, it kind of felt like when Jordan and Pippen were overcoming the Pistons. It was like, you know what? This is the young, talented group that's finally figured it out. They're breaking through. And they just didn't do it. I mean, that was a monumental series win over San Antonio for Oklahoma City. And then just a monumental breakdown against the Warriors. How disappointing for that fan base. Awful. It was absolutely awful. So I think it's going to haunt those guys. I wish him all the best. KD has got a lot to think about on where he's going to go. He's a free agent now. My opinion, he needs to stay right where he is. Oklahoma City is good. Steven Adams is a beast. Serge Ibaka is great. He's got to decide to stay too. Russell Westbrook, he's the most athletic person on the planet. He needs to work on his three-point shot. More importantly, he needs to work on his decision-making, because here's the thing with Russell Westbrook. People love to hate on him. He's insanely talented. He truly is the most athletic guy probably on planet Earth. He's out of control good, if that even works, if that even makes sense. He's that good. But what his problem is his decision-making. And the decision-making is especially bad on his three-point field goal attempts. And that's why his percentage sucks. That's why he sucks from three-point land field goal-wise, percentage-wise. Because he takes bad shots. Just don't take those dumb shots, and your three-point field goal percentage will bump up. Because when he's open, that's when he hits it. So he hits 25 to 30% of his threes, right? Well, those 25 to 30% are pretty much always when his feet are set, he's got a little space, and it's like a good shot. When he tries to be Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, who are the two best shooters in the history of the game, who happen to be on the same team at the same time, then he runs into trouble. So he needs to improve his decision-making a little bit, his shot selection a little bit, particularly from three-point land. And he's a superstar. He's an MVP type guy. He's that good. And KD, I mean, he's already been an MVP. He's one of the best scorers. And he showed me in this series, man, when he wants to play defense, he is dangerous. Because he's long. I mean, that dude's like 6'11". He looks like he's got the wingspan of looks like he has like a 9-foot wingspan out there. His arms are so long. And when he wants to be disruptive in the passing lanes and blocking shots, he is really, really good at defense. So you keep those guys together, and Steven Adams, like I say, he's just a beast. He really, really impressed me and won me over this series. He's talented, he's patient, he's tough, he hustles, he's good. Robertson, his offensive game struggles, but he can D up as well. They've got that core group there. They've got all the pieces in place to be a championship team. I think they have one of the best coaches in the league in Billy Donovan. Their problem is closing, and that's supposed to be Durant. But it just wasn't. It just wasn't. So I don't know if Durant's going to leave. It sounds like going. He's from the DC area, but it sounds like going to the Wizards is not really even an option for him at this point. There's been talk of San Antonio. I could see him doing that because San Antonio needs help. The Duncan, Parker, Ginobili thing has run its course. It's obviously the Kawhi show and the LaMarcus Aldridge show now, but they could use a Durant guy. That could be a tempting thing. But I don't know, man. Do you bail when you've been to the finals once and you were like a minute away from going back to the finals and you blew it? Do you really bail on your team at that point when they're like the young Studley team who should be winning? I don't know if there's a better option than Oklahoma City for him right now. So hopefully he stays, just for parity's sake in the NBA. And I think Oklahoma City deserves to keep him a little bit longer, but totally up to him. That's the beauty of free agency. He can move and live wherever he wants to live, but his best chance at winning, in my opinion, is to stick right where he's at. He might be tempted by the Heat. Pat Riley's good at that. And D Wade's there, and Bosch and Hassan Whiteside and Goran Dragic, and they've got some good players down there as well. But I think OKC is his best bet. The one thing about going to the East is you look at LeBron. LeBron has been able to go to the finals every year, not because he's so talented, even though he is, but because he's in the East. Who's LeBron going against? He had the Raptors in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Raptors. With their best player being Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is like maybe the 20th best player in the Western Conference. Okay, if he was in the Western Conference, I mean. He was the best player on the second best team in the Eastern Conference. But the best team in the Eastern Conference has 3 players that are better than all of them. All of the Raptors. And that's why the Cavs are in the finals. It shouldn't have even gone 6, but that was a mistake on the Cavs' part. I think they were probably kicking themselves. That's why they went and won by 40 there in Game 6. But I think that the Cavs are in trouble because I don't see LeBron as a closer. And I'll tell you what, LeBron's entire legacy rides on this series. LeBron James is 2-4 in the NBA Finals. 2-4. Think about that. He's Peyton Manning. He's the Peyton Manning of basketball. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Joe Montana. He's certainly not Michael Jordan. He's Peyton Manning. Total stud, tons of records, gaudy numbers, great game, regular season beast, playoff, meh, so-so. And it all comes down to closing. Same thing with Peyton Manning. I've argued this a bunch. Yeah, Peyton Manning's playoff numbers, they're actually really, really good. It's that last final drive. Who do you want? Who do you want under center in a 2-minute drill to win the Super Bowl? Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? Anyone that says Peyton Manning is lying to themselves or they've never watched football in their lives. Because without question, you take Tom Brady. And that's where I put LeBron James. If I've got 2 minutes left in a game and I need some buckets, I'm down 5 and there's a minute and a half to go, and I can choose between Michael Jordan or LeBron James, 11 times out of 10, I'm taking Michael Jordan. If I can choose between Steph Curry or LeBron James, 10 times out of 10, I'm taking Steph Curry. LeBron doesn't finish. He plays hot potato with the ball at the end. He's scared to take the big shot. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be the best player on the court. Don't be dishing to Tristan Thompson or whoever else at the end of a game when there's a big shot on the line. Go create your 6'8", 250 pounds of muscle, get in there and score or get to the line. I don't think the Cavs have a closer. Not like a Steph Curry or a Klay Thompson. They got better athletes. They got a great bench. I mean, J.R. Smith fills it up. They got a good coach. I mean, he's young and new, but seems to be doing a good job to me. They got Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving right there. This is LeBron's legacy rides on this series. He took him to 6 games last year. That was a phenomenal effort and phenomenal feat and an accomplishment in and of itself. But now he has no excuses. He's got his guys. He's got his all-stars by his side. They've got a fantastic lineup. I got in a little dispute yesterday with a friend as we were watching the game. He started talking about how Jordan had this fantastic, supporting cast, the greatest supporting cast ever. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, Michael Jordan didn't have Kyrie Irving or Kevin Love. He had Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen's a beast, one of the best defenders of all time. And he could also score 20 a game. But really, I mean, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, like you compare them to today, and compare like that time frame against itself, the players in the league against itself, to this league against itself. Kyrie Irving's a top 3 or 4 point guard. Kevin Love's top 3 or 4 as well. I mean, he has been. He hasn't been as much with the Cavs because they haven't figured out how to use him properly. But those are really, really, really good teammates to have on your team. LeBron's got them. And if you want to be the best in the world, you have to beat the best in the world. And he's 2-4 in the chances he's been given to do that. And getting there 6 times in a row, I just got to be real. I'm just not that impressed. I'm really not. The Eastern Conference is a joke. And when Jordan was in the league, the Eastern Conference was the stronger of the 2 conferences. And if Jordan hadn't left to go play baseball, he probably would have gone 8 for 8. Instead, he went 3 for 3, took a 2-year break, went 3 for 3. Jordan never lost in the finals. 6 for 6. Never even went 7 games. Never once went 7 games in the finals. He was 6 for 6 in the NBA Finals, and he was 6 for 6 on being Finals MVP. LeBron's 2 and 4. LeBron doesn't touch MJ. Does not touch him. If he wins this Finals and wins it convincingly and is the MVP, I'll put him in like the Larry Bird category. But LeBron's not a closer, man. He's not a closer. His legacy rides on this, and I'm rooting for him. You want to know why? Because I'm sick of this 73-9 Warriors talk. Those guys, and I already talked about this in a previous podcast, those guys would get worked by Jordan's Bulls. They shouldn't even be in the finals. They should not be in the finals. It should be Oklahoma City in the finals, and they gave the game away. So I looked this up. For those that don't know, okay, so in the playoffs in 1996, when the Bulls went 72-10, the first round was a 5-game series. So the Bulls played the Heat, and they swept them 3-0. Then they played the Knicks, and they won that series in 5, 4-1. Then they played the Magic, and they swept them 4-0. Then they played the Sonics in the NBA Finals, and they beat them 4-2. So the Bulls, you had to win 15 games to win it all back then, not 16. They were 15-3. 15-3. The Warriors lost 3 games this series, and it should have been 4. And the Warriors lost one already to the Houston Rockets and one to the Blazers. So they've already lost 5 games this postseason, and I can guarantee you they lose at least 2 to the Cavs. At least. I'm still debating my prediction even as I talk right now. I'm going to get to my prediction at the end of the podcast. I got another, little bit to think about that. But think about that. The Bulls went 15-3 and 72-10 for a combined, 87-13, right? So 87-13, and the Warriors already have 5 losses in these playoffs. They'll lose at least 2 more. But even with those 5, guess who has more losses on the season? The Warriors. The Warriors. And I just don't like this. I don't like this talk about greatest team ever. I just don't like it. Because they're not even close. They're phenomenal right now. They're a ton of fun to watch. They're so fun to watch. But this talk, this completely naive talk about how they're the greatest team ever, it's got me cheering against them because I just can't, as a sports fan, as somebody who loves the game of basketball, I can't handle this naive talk about the Warriors being the greatest ever, and so I just want them to lose. I'm cheering against them now. And I don't want to. I don't want to be a hater, but people that don't understand the game of basketball are kind of making me turn that way against the Warriors because they're just not even close. They're not even close to the Bulls. But they can shoot it. Man, can they shoot it. I mean, I'm not joking when I say Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are the greatest shooters in the history of the game. In its history. And they're both on the same team at the same time. It's unreal. It's unreal. And one of them just happens to also be the best ball handler we've probably ever seen in Steph Curry. I don't know that the league's ever seen somebody that can dribble the way he can dribble. But they're not the Bulls of 96. They're just not. They're good, but they're not the Bulls. So let's just break down the finals real quick. LeBron, Kyrie, and Love. And then on the flip side, you've got Steph, Klay, and Draymond Green. Who do you give the edge to? Who do you give the edge to? I'd love to hear your stuff. Tweet me at Sean Bingham, SeanBingham, at Sean Bingham. By the way, I failed to mention this in most podcasts. I need to. We have an Instagram and a Facebook, and I would love for you guys to follow and like those as well. It's really cool stuff. The Instagram and the Facebook are both just STB Sports Take. The Instagram's pretty strong, over 20,000 followers. The Facebook's a little bit newer, just got a few hundred likes there, so help us out. Go like the page on Facebook, STB Sports Take, and follow us on Instagram, STB Sports Take. Tell us what you think. And one thing, actually, as I get a little bit more sidetracked, so the guy that helps me run those, his name's Johnny Spock. He made an interesting observation about Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and he sent me a text, and he said, are these guys the new version of John Stockton and Karl Malone? Extremely good, amazing duo, but can't beat the best. Interesting thought, because by the time the Jazz finally broke through and got to the NBA Finals, Michael Jordan was waiting for him, and he beat him twice in a row. And before him, they just struggled to get past the Rockets or the Sonics. They just couldn't get over the hump. And when they finally did, it still wasn't enough because the greatest player ever was waiting for them. If they were going to win it all, they needed to win it in 94, 95, which is when the Rockets took full advantage and got theirs. And if you watch that ESPN 30 for 30, this magic moment about the Orlando Magic back then, dude, that's one of the best 30 for 30s ever, by the way. But that second championship, that was totally there for the taking by the Orlando Magic. I mean, they were far and away the best team in the league that year. Shaq and Penny Hardaway were balling out. They got swept. That's insane. They got swept. So check us out on our social media, STB Sports Take, on both Facebook and Instagram. And then for Twitter, it's just my name, Sean Bingham, SeanBingham. So getting back to the matchup in the finals, LeBron, Kyrie, and Love against Curry, Clay, and Draymond Green. Toughness, Draymond Green is going to beat up on Kevin Love the whole series, toughness-wise. Curry obviously gets the edge over Kyrie, but not by much. And then LeBron gets the edge over Clay. So it's going to come down a lot to these role players. The Tristan Thompsons, the J.R. Smiths, the Andre Iguodalas. These guys that get tons of minutes and play really important roles. Matthew Dellavedovas, Andrew Bogut's, guys like that. And it's going to be a really, really hard-fought series. This is either Cavs in 6 or it's Warriors in 7. That's what I think. It's either Cavs in 6 or Warriors in 7. And LeBron James's legacy rides on it, and he knows it. He knows it. You can't be the greatest of all time if you're not even the greatest of your own time. You can't be the greatest of all time if you're not even the greatest of your own time. His goal is to be the greatest of all time, and right now he knows that everybody thinks Steph Curry is better than him. He's the 2-time MVP. He's the reigning NBA champ. He's the guy that's just filling it up. He's got the huge contract with Under Armour. He's the guy. He's the face of the league, not LeBron. And LeBron hates it. You know he hates it. There's been reports about it. He's sitting there saying, well, you got to really look at the, what the word valuable means. It could go either way. It doesn't necessarily mean the best. That's a jab. That's a direct jab at Steph Curry saying, no, bro. I'm still the best. And I think he's right. I think he is the best. But man, Steph can close games. Steph can close games. I got mad respect for Steph Curry because that dude is not afraid of any moment. He wants the ball. He wants to take that big shot. He wants to take that big shot doing step backs, crossovers, and he'll do it 6 to 10 feet behind the three-point line. There's nothing you can do to stop those guys from making it. It's insane. Klay Thompson gets his shot off quicker than anyone I've ever seen. He catches the ball, and it's immediately gone from his hands. It's almost like he's setting it like it's a volleyball, like he's a setter on volleyball. He's not catching and shooting. It's like he's barely even touching it. He's setting it like it's a volleyball. And it goes in. Swish. 7-footer in my face. Swish. 7-footer up in my grill. Step back. Swish. They're crazy. They take shots that like you watch and you're like, as a basketball fan who's been playing ball and following basketball for my whole life, 34 years, and I'm just like, that's a horrible shot. Swish. That's an awful shot selection. Swish. That was selfish. Swish. They just don't miss. They don't miss. And Klay Thompson, I'm sitting there watching the game yesterday, and he starts out 0 for 7, right? And this is game 7. He starts out 0 for 7. And I'm telling everybody around, I'm like, no. Klay is a guy, he sees it go in once, and look out. Well, guess what? 2 possessions later, he hits a 3, and it was on. He ended up hitting 4 in a row after that. That guy, he's a streaky shooter. That's how he scored 37 points in a quarter this season, setting an NBA record. Scored 19 in the fourth quarter of Game 6, which again should have been too little too late, but the CHOKElahoma City choked it away. But when he sees it go in, look out. J.R. Smith's kind of the same, just not to the same level, of course, not even close, but he's another guy that's streaking. If he sees it go in, he can fill it up. So the Cavs are going to have their hands full and think they could have had home court advantage. If CHOKElahoma City wouldn't have choked it away, it would be in Cleveland for games 1 and 2. And they would have been playing against a team that they went 2-0 against this season with Kyrie Irving sitting out for 7 of the 8 quarters. He sat out an entire game, and the Cavs won anyway. And he got hurt and sat out quarters 2 through 4 in the other game, and they won anyway. But guess how the Cavs did against the Warriors this year? 0-2. LeBron's legacy rides on it. It's going Cavs in 6 or Warriors in 7, and it better go at least that long. We just want a good series at this point. But I'm rooting for LeBron, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Cavs in 6. I got another bold prediction. I said this last year during the finals, and I'm going to end with this. I said this last year during the finals to some friends who were all up in, Curry land in their heads. Curry's legit. Don't get me wrong. Curry's legit. I've already said he's the greatest shooter of all time. I've even said he's the greatest ball handler of all time, which you don't hear said very often. I'm all about Curry. I understand how good he is. I don't think his game can last, though. So my prediction last year during the finals, I said Steph Curry will be irrelevant in 5 years. Irrelevant. Well, now I'm down to 4 years. The clock's been ticking. Steph Curry will be irrelevant in 4 years. Mark my words. Because his game, guys are going to figure it out. The Oklahoma City, they had the blueprint. They created the blueprint on how to beat the Warriors. These guys lost 9 games all season. The Thunder just beat them 3 times. 3. That's 33% of the total losses they had in 82 games, and they did it in a 4-game span. 3 times they beat them. The blueprint was out, and then they choked it away. But here's the comparison I've made. So think back to, I think it was 2012. I'm a huge Redskins fan. RG3 is a rookie. Andrew Luck's a rookie. Russell Wilson was a rookie. Colin Kaepernick, I think, was in his second year. And the read option was like the thing in the NFL, right? RG3 was honestly probably the most feared player in the league. And I'm saying that from a biased Redskins fan standpoint. But for that stretch down, especially like those last 10 games of the season, his rookie year, he truly was like the most feared and dangerous guy in the league because nobody has seen anyone in the NFL run the read option that way. So he was having success with it. Russell Wilson started having success with it. The 49ers and Colin Kaepernick had success with it. They went all the way to the Super Bowl with it. And then what happened? Where is Colin Kaepernick now? Where is RG3 now? How good is Russell Wilson now? Is the read option even a thing now? No. Why? Because the greatest defensive minds in the game of football in the entire world had some time to look at this new development, this new thing they'd never seen before, and they thought, oh, well, here's how we can stop it. Well, and guess what? It doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore. I just don't think that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson can continue to hit those threes the way they're hitting them and still have their team win. I think it's eventually going to be shut down. And I made the comparison of Steve Nash and Steph Curry a couple weeks ago. I still think that's a very good comparison. Obviously, Steph Curry is on another level, but not by much. I mean, Steve Nash was a 2-time MVP. Steve Nash had handles. Steve Nash could shoot it. Steve Nash was crafty. Steve Nash was undersized. Very, very similar players. And Steve Nash didn't win championships, though. I'll give Curry that. But I'm telling you, as Curry gets a little bit older, and he's not exactly young, he's like 27, 28. As he gets a little bit older, him being undersized is going to haunt him. And his ability to fill it up that way is going to diminish. His ability to get his shot off and break free. Defenses are going to have time to They got 2 full years now of tape and practice, and especially this last series. Those 3 games when Oklahoma City drafted these phenomenal blueprints, how to stop the Warriors. It's all going to come out. And I don't think that Steph Curry will be a relevant basketball player in 4 years, which means, to define that, he won't be an all-star. He won't even be sniffing an MVP ballot. Won't be playing for a championship contender unless he's just a side note role player. He won't be an all-star. That's the best way I can put it. I don't think it's going to last. I think he's a stud. He's relatable. He's pretty much my size. He's 6'2", probably $180. I'm 6'1" and $180. So he's very relatable. It's cool to watch a guy like that. So I root for him. I really do. I just don't like the Warriors are the greatest ever talk, and I don't like the chest pounding after free throws. I think it's ridiculous. But other than that, I like the guy. He's so fun to watch. I don't think it can last, though. Just like RG3 couldn't last, just like Colin Kaepernick couldn't last. He's got to evolve his game, and I think he's too small to evolve it into anything that would work. I don't think he can evolve it into, like, what is he going to do, post up? He could be a distributor, things like that, but I don't see him being a superstar or even an all-star just a few short years from now. And he'll be in his early 30s. I mean, LeBron's in his early 30s, and he's dominating the league still. Jordan was in his early 30s, dominating the league, winning MVPs, winning championships, winning finals MVPs. Steph Curry won't even come close to that a few years from now. There's no way. His game is not such that it's going to last. It's going to take some guys figuring it out defensively, how they're going to stop them, and deciding they want to put in a full effort. And it's the pick and roll, man. I kept watching the Thunder yesterday, and I'm kind of going longer than I thought I would. Sorry about that. But I'm watching the Thunder yesterday, and it's like it's pick and roll, pick and roll. I mean, there's 100 pick and rolls a game now. And Steph Curry, they kept switching. So now it's Enes Kanter on Curry. Now it's Serge Ibaka on Curry. Now it's Steven Adams on Curry. Dude, he can break free of those guys in a heartbeat. He can break free of most guards in a heartbeat. It's so easy for him to shake those guys and get that clean look that he needs. He just needs a split second. And it's so easy for him to do when Draymond Green or Andrew Bogut come up and do a pick and roll with him. Just watch the tape. You guys are getting paid tens of millions to be basketball minds. Just watch the tape and figure out how to do that. Maybe you show and go back and fight through screens better. But don't switch. Don't switch. It was like he was like 100% when those big guys were trying to defend him out there. He was not missing. He was salivating every time they would switch and put a big man on him out there on three-point line from a pick and roll. He literally was salivating, and he didn't even want to try and get past them. He didn't even want to try and go by them, which is most people are like, oh, a big guy's guarding me. I'm going to blow right by him. Not Curry. He's like, no, I'm going to freaking shake this dude and drill a three. And he did it every time. So that's today's podcast. Bold predictions. Curry will be irrelevant in 4 years. Bold prediction. Cavs will win this series in 6. And with that, I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out stbsportstake.com. Simply the best in sports. 'Cause we are